Hello, hello. Hello. Just checking if everything is fine around here. All good with you? Yeah. So let's go for another round. Today you're getting a Today we're getting a skeleton's banana. Let me check the lightness here. Okay, I think that's good. Let's go for the cartridge. With my tattoo machine, the Dragonhawk Fold Pro Year of the Horse. You can check the link on the description and you get there a coupon code for this beautiful machine. It's amazing to tattoo and for this kind of stuff, for stippling. It's awesome. So, let's go around 5 volts. And let's start always from the top. This here, it's a little bit different from real tattooing. Usually on real tattooing we start from the bottom up. However, here we start from the top to bottom. It's just what I prefer, honestly, to do. So starting from here with the bones. Hey there, all good. Just starting out with this skeleton's banana. Check it out. I'm just starting. We have a lot to deal with here. There's a lot of small things. And since this area is really small and thin, we have to be really careful. guess this cartridge is not good enough. Going to switch for another one. This is like, instead of putting the ink, it feels like it's scratching the paper and not putting sufficient ink. What's happened to this again? No, let me go for a wider area to prime the cartridge. Let me go down a little bit. Hey there. Sorry, what's that flag? What's the country? I'm terribly sorry. Going for the smooth, trying to do the smooth shading here on these areas. These are really small areas, so we have to be really careful on how we approach this stuff, so we don't overwork or we don't darken things too much. So we can create a little bit of contrast as well. And obviously if it's too dark, that's no good because there's no contrast, right? This also relates to tattooing, to real tattooing, because on tattooing the main struggle is always to get a piece that's contrasty enough, you know. The big dilemma is always to try to get enough contrast on the piece so it can last longer. That's why many people who appear in studio with ChatGPT images and whatnot, most of them are not viable because there's not enough contrast, you know. Or we can do it, but we have to change a lot of things eventually, so it can work, you know. It happened a lot. me it happened a lot to get requests from clients on my studio to do certain types of work stuff directly from ChatGPT. You can always notice, and you have to explain them that that's not possible. Like, you have to have some contrast, and the image they handle to us is like something like some mesh of midtones and whatnot, and it's not viable. And some people understand it, other people don't. Well, we do our best, but not everyone obviously will be satisfied. For now, we are going to like the sternum parts. It's a bit different on our sternum. However, like, this is a banana with a skeleton, so no need to try to be accurate. About physiognomy, you know. At least that's what I think. It's just a simple banana who is stripped away from... Okay. Now this will take a while. There's so many little stuff here, and I have to be really cautious with these little areas to not overwork them. Just really light tone here. Then figure here the overlay with a cast shadow from the bone above. Okay. Now this one is a little bit larger. How you guys doing? I've been doing like these live streams right now, like in a daily basis, and just wandering around the time slots to see what suits me more. It is the first time I'm doing a live stream at this hour. Also, there's something interesting to talk about, because you see I'm working right now in a 300 GSM paper, a watercolor paper. At least it's named as a watercolor paper. However, I thought this paper would be like a hot press. Would have a hot press configuration in it. However, because I have other kinds of watercolor paper, and the grain is way it's way textured than this. However, I bought recently another notebook, also paper from also watercolor paper, of course, 300 GSM. However, here it doesn't say anywhere that is hot press, okay? But there on the other notebook it says it's hot press, and it's a huge difference in the grain, because like it's almost really flat. It's really flat. It has no texture at all. And I was testing it yesterday. I tested it, and well, it's funny because I've been doing this stuff in this paper for a while now, and I got used to it. But well, this paper is a little bit more forgiving, let's say, let's put it that way, than the other one, because the other is like, if you touch a little bit with the tip of the pen there, it stays. Okay? You don't have that, well, sorry, let me just, okay, oh, no problem, yeah, okay. It doesn't have that much, sorry, let me just, okay. It doesn't have that much feel to it, you know, it's like, it's awkward, it's kind of strange. I almost prefer like this kind of stuff, this paper like with a little bit more grain, even though that's not perfect for this kind of stuff, because the tip of the pen gets stuck a lot of times and you have to ditch it and switch for another one. However, I kind of prefer this more rough feel and look to it. It's more grainy. Here in the back there with the vertebrae. Yeah. Okay. Another one. Just like DJ Khaled. Another one. It's your first time here on the channel. I also do other type of stuff here. Also review tattoo equipment. Well, I'm a tattoo artist. you know. There's a couple of stuff the brand sent me to review. Actually, this machine was one of it. Was one of it. One of the tattoo equipment's brands sent. And this machine really packs a punch, you know. I'm trying to have it in the slowest mode possible and weakest, let's say, mode possible. Because this is like a beast, honestly. And for paper, we don't need that kind of struggle, that punch, that punchiness, you know. On the other hand, you eventually will need like a weaker machine to work here. Cross-hatching to make the tones more black, more consistent, to get the dots denser. Okay. If you want to make, usually doing this technique, doing stippling, if you want to create a little bit more depth, you can cross-hatch. It also helps you to disguise the point orientation, the dots orientation, you know. Because if you are pushing the dots in the same way, always in the same way, eventually it will look weird, you know. And if you would like to have like a more uniform, let's say, a more uniform dot placement, you can cross-hatch as well from different sides. Like I did this, and now I'm going to do the opposite. Okay. Also doing this darker area underneath this fold. Like my hand, it's like really light. I'm barely like touching the paper. And this is like the main reason that I think, it's my opinion, well, I'm a tattoo artist, obviously. So I've done both ways. I've done tattoos and this type of work, and I honestly think that this stuff, it's way harder to pull nice clean work than actual tattoos, you know. It's less forgiving, at least, doing this kind of stuff than the tattoos themselves. can be a little bit controversy. I'm not looking for that, but at least that's what I feel. Because even in tattooing, if you accidentally place the dots somewhere it isn't supposed to be, obviously, if you are not pushing hard, and usually you are not like slamming the needle onto someone's skin, obviously, it almost, well, it appears like nothing. You don't see anything at all on the person's skin. However, here, if you misplace some dots accidentally, well, it's done. You have a lot of contrast because obviously the page here is white and you are dealing with black ink, so yeah, you have nowhere to run or to hide. One more rib, and I guess at least for this part is the last one for this side. I don't know what's happening with these cartridges. It's like they don't have. It's a really shame because, you know, usually it happens also with regular tattoo needles. Eventually you buy like a pack of 20, and eventually one or two are like poorly made, you know, and you have to inspect every single time that you open up a cartridge. You have to inspect if it's everything okay, if the needle is fine and ready to tattoo. And if that happens on regular needles, imagine with this kind of cartridges that almost no one almost uses, you know. And I'm feeling that fluctuation a lot. There's a couple of cartridges that are really good, I mean, at least in proper conditions, let's say that way, and others, like, I don't know, the ink doesn't flow. It seems like they are only like scraping the paper. Now this area is way lighter, it's like almost blank, but I don't like to leave anything really blank unless it's like a really high highlights. So let's just give it a little bit of shade. Light shade, and that's okay. Here with the bone marrow. Exactly that you say, like bone marrow. I think it's called that way. Sorry, I'm not an American or English person, I'm Portuguese. here as well. Now the difficult part. We have to separate this from this front stuff from the back. So we are going to have to darken up a little here. And also we are creating like a base. Base down here, okay. Yep. Like this. Also, as I said before, we can cross hatch. So the points, so the dots aren't like perfectly visible from where they came, so they appear random. And now let's saturate a little bit more the areas we need to. Usually more on the top of each link. Because of the light direction. As soon as we have those contrasty values locked, then we go for another pass through everything, just to if you need to darken up anything, you know. And now I'm going to use another machine. This is perfect just for those really dark areas. And I'm trying to lock in here some this division between them. Now I guess this is the hip. Since it's behind, let's darken up a little bit more so we can bring the vertebrae up front. That's it. Like that. Again on the other side as well. Darken up with the cross hatching. Okay. Just open up like these connections, you know. so it can give it like a more three-dimensional feel to it. I guess it's becoming interesting, at least. So let's give this to another time for now. Let's advance with the rest of the banana. Now we have here some dark spots. You see. It feels like I'm ripping off the paper instead of painting it. I don't know. So this area should be almost like blacked out because it's the darker part of the banana. Is in the shadow, so let's get up this a little bit more. Only this area is a little bit more lighter. The rest is almost completely black. Thank you, Tara Framer, for the follow. Really appreciate it. It's a really small channel, so every follow obviously counts, and I appreciate it. Now establish the base, and now going for the other machine, you know, to darken up this, at least this side of the banana peel. The only thing here I really don't like with this machine is that it has a stroke. It has a too high stroke, so the dots are really spaced out, and I really don't like it. Because if you compare like the density of these dots and these ones, it's completely bananas, to say the least. Okay. Now let's get to another part. Also, as always, give it a little base coat just to have a starting point. Okay. Now starting out the details. There's obviously areas that you should create a bit more contrast. Doing a light crosshatch here, because this part is a lighter tone but also needs to have some contrast, not just light. And here we have the part from the bottom, from the other side. Darken up a little bit here on the middle. Again. This is obviously just the first layer, you know. Then you are going to go with a when all is finished, we are going to head with the final layer to adjust to see if everything is okay. So if you need another more contrast and whatnot. Some drop shadow, really light drop shadow. Yeah, I get it, yeah. It's not done yet, as I said. This is like just the base layer, let's say that. Eventually I'll need to refine some areas there. Give things a little bit of contrast and whatnot. But yeah, I can feel you. I can understand where that came from. Now doing the drop shadow. Just trying really lightly to place some dots around. So then you can smooth them. That's what we're going to do right now. Smooth the transition. Now, let's finishing this, the fade. Just placing here like a hot spot in the middle. That's what I'm going to do here as well. Okay. It's coming up. It's still a lot of things to do. Now we're going to do just a couple of spots. Just random spots, you know. These don't need to be perfect. It's way better if they are not perfect, let's say this way. Now here, you also have here like a drop shadow that comes on almost until here. Goes this way and then folds like this. So this whole area will be darkened up. Just lightly marking the area. Just stretching up a bit. So let's tighten up this part. Okay. And let's continue. Doing the side of the pill. I'm going to do like a light stapling here, and then I'm going to push some strokes. Now also let's do like a light sweep with dots to create a base. Also this area is way lighter than the rest, so we are out of ink, I guess. Yeah, these cartridges are really... Some cartridges last like 2 or 3 drawings and others not even half. Oh god. Just going to darken up a little bit more here. To create some differentiation with the rest. Okay. Also here. This is like the fibers, trying to emulate. Okay. Here I just darken up a little bit more this area. It was too light comparing with the others, so I just do a pass and cross hatch the whole thing. Okay, guess it's better. going again towards this area. I'm going to use this one. Excuse me, it's just for a minute. Sorry, just to answer here. Okay. What do you guys think? A bite of the banana. Okay. Now we're going to do like the back side, the other peel, the banana. This should be directional. Almost wrapping it up. Well, it was a nice study. There are a lot of things that wasn't that perfect, but it was, well, let me just add a little bit of this shadow. Continue here. Okay. It's done now. What do you guys think? It was a nice little study. So, tomorrow there's more. I'll be doing this also tomorrow around the same time as today. So if you want to keep me company, you can stay there, you can stay tuned with my channel, you can subscribe, you can place here a like. And thank you for being there. See you tomorrow. See you in the next one. Bye bye.